Hey guys, Plev here, and today I'll be familiarizing you with the MiG-15 in IL-2 Korea. Before I start with cockpit familiarization, let's go ahead and power on our aircraft so everything looks as it should in the cockpit. You can do so by pressing E. With our engine alive, let's step into the cockpit. With our engine running, I'm going to go ahead and start at our left knee with the landing gear indicators. Right now they're green, indicating that they're down. Taking a look at our center panel, we have our airspeed indicator, or skorost in Cyrillic. Just below our airspeed indicator, we have our barometric altimeter, and below that, we have our radar altimeter. To the right of our airspeed indicator, we have our artificial horizon. To the left of our gun sight and above our airspeed indicator is our backup magnetic compass. Just below our gun sight and to the right of our artificial horizon, we have our vertical velocity indicator. This is shown in meters per second. Just below that, we have liters of fuel remaining. Now let's take a look at the right console. On the top left of the right console, we have our radio compass. Below that, we have our HSI. Below our HSI, we have our EGT, or engine gas temperature. And to the right of our radio compass, we have our RPM indicator. On the left of our canopy on the nose, we have our backup nose wheel indicator. And on our left and right wings, we have our left gear indicator and right gear indicator, respectively. It's this small striped pole. If we lower our flaps, the flap indicator pole will stick out. The first step shows 20 degrees. The second step shows 50 degrees. You should use 20 degrees for takeoff. Before we taxi over to the runway, let's go over a little peculiarity in how to taxi this aircraft. This aircraft does not use toe brakes. Instead, it uses a single paddle lever to apply brake pressure. If you were to give it, for example, left rudder, the left brakes would stay engaged and the right would disengage, allowing the aircraft to turn left. You'll have to tap the brakes quite often while taxiing. Prior to taxi, let's engage our navigation lights with right Alt L. We'll leave the canopy open during the taxi. I'm going to go ahead and depress the brakes and apply power. I'm going to release the brakes, and as I start rolling, I'm going to continue tapping the brakes and deflecting the rudder in the direction I wish to go. You'll want to taxi at around 5,000 RPM. Here we are at the hold short. We'll go ahead and do a quick traffic check and taxi onto the active. Prior to takeoff, we'll close our canopy with the C key. We'll get nice and lined up straight down the runway. Take a second to make sure your nose wheel straightens out. Cut the throttle and come to a stop. Do a quick double check, make sure our flaps are at 20 degrees. We'll go ahead and apply the brakes and throttle up. We're going to rotate at around 140 kilometers per hour, and we should be able to lift off around 240. Tapping the brakes to get myself nice and lined up. Rotating. Careful to avoid a tail strike. Airborne, putting the gear up. And flaps up. And we're looking good. We'll check back in up at altitude, where I'll talk to you a little bit about the weapons and flight characteristics of this aircraft. Here we are at 5,000 meters. Let's begin by talking about the fixed armament on board. Located in the nose are 3 forward-firing cannons, 2 23mm NS-23 or NR-23 cannons with 80 rounds per gun, and 1 37mm N-37D cannon which only has 40 rounds. The aircraft is also capable of carrying 2 bombs, 2 drop tanks, or 2 illumination flares. While the low ammo capacity does mean you're going to have to be more careful with your shooting, on the other hand, you're going to have a much easier time taking out aircraft like the B-29. In the interest of keeping this video short, I just want to briefly touch on how the MiG-15 compares to the F-86 Sabre. Both the MiG-15 and the F-86 Sabre start running into issues around Mach 0.7 and above, where the MiG will experience wing drop and roll reversal, and the Sabre can spontaneously begin to pitch up. The Sabre is capable of pulling a much higher AOA than the MiG-15 due to its leading edge slats. The F-86 also outrolls the MiG-15 and will essentially beat it in a horizontal fight every time. The vertical, instead, where the MiG can take advantage of its excellent thrust-to-weight ratio, is where the aircraft shines. As such, in order to fight and win in this aircraft, you have to set up your shots and make sure they count. To do so, ensure you have an energy advantage using your pretty much superior engine to get above the enemy and attack in dives. This is a boom and zoom interceptor, not a fighter. With those details out of the way, let's work our way down to land. As I descend, I'm going to use my air brakes to slow to below 450 kilometers per hour. Once below 450 kilometers per hour, I can go ahead and lower the gear. I'll also lower the flaps to the 20-degree mark. I'm a little slow here, but that's all right. I'm going to be using around 8,500 RPM for most of the approach at this point. I'm going to aim just short of the runway. I'm going to go ahead and start cutting back on my throttle to get down to around 300. I'm going to use my air brake to get a little slower. And at this point, at 350, I'm going to go ahead and drop the flaps all the way down to 50 degrees. We're going to start losing speed pretty rapidly. I'm going to retract my air brakes. I'm going to keep aiming just short of the runway. Giving her some power. We're going to want to touch down at around 240 kilometers per hour. Start to flare, give her a little bit of power. Pull back on the stick. Use our brakes to stay down the runway. And we've made it down in one piece. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this guide for IL-2 Korea. I'm really excited for the series. Please go ahead and drop a comment, like, and subscribe if I've helped you out. And go check out my Discord. It'll be linked in the comments. Plev, out.